afternoon. I'm Garcia Micaelian. Just before 9 o'clock our time this morning, a plume of white smoke came from the chimney of the Vatican, announcing to the world and billions of Catholic followers a new pope had been elected by the College of Cardinals. Our Ali Rasmus live with what we're learning about Pope Leo XIV, the first pope from the United States and North America to lead the Catholic Church.
Yes, Garcia, and just hours ago, he was Cardinal Robert Prevost from Chicago, Illinois. Now he is the Catholic Church's 267th pope, introduced to the world, and hundreds of thousands of cheering Catholics in St. Peter's Square as Pope Leo XIV.
La pace sia con tutti voi.
He is 69 years old. He earned a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Villanova University in Pennsylvania. He spent much of his career as a missionary in South America, later becoming a bishop in Peru. In 2015, he received Peruvian citizenship. Now, most recently, he led the Vatican office for new bishop appointments, assessing candidates and making recommendations to the late Pope Francis. In his first speech on the balcony, he spoke in both Latin and Spanish and called for the church to, quote, build bridges and dialogue. Pope Leo was chosen just 2 days after the conclave began, with 133 cardinals gathered in the Sistine Chapel to select the next pontiff after the death of Pope Francis last month. Vatican observers say the relatively quick selection process suggests that he was seen as an impressive candidate among electors. Now, his selection is also a break in a long-standing informal belief among Catholic leadership that it was too much to have both the U.S. as a global political power and an American as the leader of a global religious organization. Some Vatican analysts say the fact that Pope Leo spent the bulk of his career and life in South America may have convinced the cardinals that his appointment wouldn't represent a concentration of U.S. power. Garcia.
Ali, thank you. Interesting. We did not hear him speak English in today's address. Let's get some more insight by turning to Vanessa Corcoran, medieval historian at Georgetown University. We're so glad you're back with us as you shepherded us through that breaking news. First, your reaction.
This is such an exciting moment. I did not think probably within our own lifetimes we would see an American pope, and particularly since so many other candidates that were bandied about were not from the United States. This was a major surprise. But what I think is really exciting about seeing the new Pope Leo XIV out is that all of his time that has been spent as a missionary in Peru does separate him a bit from some of the other American bishops who have really been sort of landlocked in North America. And so he's been really doing the work. And I think that is going to tie him really nicely to the legacy of Pope Francis.
He spoke Italian, switched to Spanish. We did not hear him speak English today. Is that notable? And what stood out most to you from his address?
I don't think he would have. I would have been surprised if he spoke English. You know, this is still in Rome, where Italian is widely spoken. I think it's actually really important in addressing, you know, his ties to South America, to speak in Italian, to speak in Spanish, and to show that, yes, he is representing all people in this new role.
Do you think his papacy will bring a new surge of interest to Catholicism in the United States? Will this essentially bring more Americans into the Catholic faith?
I do. Americans only make up 6% of the Catholic Church. So this is a surprise in that sense. But I think to have an American as Pope who studied at Villanova University, who you know, has really lived a rich, fulfilling life in service of the Church, I think he's going to garner a lot of interest here in the United States, and also showing the different ways in which one lives as as I've been saying all day, as a servus servorum Dei, as a servant of God. You know, he was doing missionary work in Peru. You know, he's been appointed to positions in Rome as well, but the bulk of his life as a priest has been spent with people.
We heard him thank his predecessor. Have you seen any notes that mean to you he might be continuing the work of Pope Francis and reaching out to the margins, lifting up those who are often ignored or worse?
I do, and partly because of the name he picked. Pope Leo XIII, a 19th century pope who called for the first Vatican Council, really brought the Catholic Church into the modern age in terms of social justice reform, calling for fair wages for workers, and other areas of social justice that is now, I would argue, integral to the understanding of the Catholic Church. So I think by tying his name with that of Pope Leo XIII, he's sending a clear message that those values align, and of course with that, those of Pope Francis.
What's his first order of business?
Taking a breath. I mean, the day after Pope Francis was elected, he paid his bills. He took some time away and went to the Basilica of Mary Major for the first time, the first of 126 times he would go there throughout his papacy. So I'm curious to find out where Pope Leo is going to go in Rome, that spaces for him.
What is
he has a titular church. It might be there that he's going to go to, but there are also, in addition to St. Peter's Basilica, 3 other major basilicas. One of those might be of particular significance to him. So monitoring his travel in the next few days will also be interesting.
What issues do you expect him to address first?
One issue that I'm really excited that he's going to continue in terms of Pope Francis is on synodality, and which is bringing together Catholics. Pope Francis had convened a synod on synodality in Rome, but it really started from the ground roots with these, they were called conversations in the spirit, getting people, at the diocesan level speaking and talking to each other about issues pertaining to the future of the church. And Pope Leo was heavily involved in that synod, and so it's fair to say that that's going to be one of the key issues he'll be working on.
It was a new word to me, but synodality is essentially walking together in the spirit of fraternal collaboration and discernment. Given that many people here in the United States who perhaps grew up in the Catholic faith may not adhere to it as much now, I learned the term cafeteria Catholicism, sort of picking and choosing what you want to follow. Do you think this Pope will call for strict adherence to the Catholic word, or is this someone who might embrace all Catholics no matter how they walk?
Because his first words were, peace be with you all, there were no instructions there, just a message of peace. And so I think he's meeting people where they are and hoping that they'll join him as he enters into this new role.
Okay. And for those people who are still sort of left in amazement, you're a scholar of Catholic spirituality. What sort of are your final thoughts as we wrap up what truly has been a historic morning of events?
The energy right now at Georgetown is palpable. Watching what's happening in Rome is so exciting. I'm about to make my way across town to the National Basilica at Catholic University, my PhD alma mater. And I think we need to hold on to that excitement about hope and optimism in a world that's so riddled with warfare and strife, and channeling his message of peace in the work that we do in our daily lives.
Well, Vanessa Corcoran, for those who weren't with us, we spoke in the 8 o'clock hour ahead of the announcement, and you were saying how remarkable it might be if there was to be a Pope from the United States. You said, I think it's going to happen today, and then it did about an hour later. I appreciate your time this morning and your expertise. It's been very good to connect with you there at Georgetown.